Hey, it's Arlesha. I'm a purpose-driven mover and shaker who embarked on a sabbatical for the first time in my career. Welcome to my first podcast. This season, I'm talking about what it means to be on sabbatical, to recharge your life, career, and purpose. Throughout each episode, I'll share gems and insights experienced from my first sabbatical journey in the hopes it'll inspire you to harmonize your life and ambitions. Let's get into it. It's the episode we've all been waiting for. This is part 1 of my Eat, Pray, Love special edition episode. Before I get into the details, allow me to set the mood. Do you know where we are? We are in Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona was such a vibe. Barcelona kicked off the first of 3 trips that would make up my Eat, Pray, Love adventures during sabbatical. And you've probably already guessed it. Barcelona was my eat trip. Surprisingly and thankfully, I came back with no extra pounds on my body. I guess that's the difference between consuming food in Europe rather than the States, but that's a different conversation for another day. So here's why Barcelona was such a great choice to kick off my Eat, Pray, Love adventures. It was an absolute metaphorical place. The city represented an embodiment of what I wanted to get out of my sabbatical as a whole. As you embark on a break, you want to be intentional about not only how you spend your time, but where you spend your time. You want to select places and locations that will give you the vibe of the outcome you're seeking. It's intentional travel planning. Being intentional with your travel planning will provide you with perspectives and insights that you can take back for your current life, as well as venture with you onto the other side of sabbatical. These perspectives can inform how you return to your life, your job, the marketplace, your household, and more. Here's my first reason for visiting Barcelona. It was my first time actually visiting the Catalan city and the country of Spain overall. First and foremost, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and ensure that I could eat at a place that I hadn't been to before. Second, by November, I was still in total chill mode. I wanted to choose a place that would be adventurous, but with an over-index on chill. With its laid-back lifestyle and emphasis on enjoying life, Barcelona matched the ideals of life harmony that I was going for. Because of this MO, it always brought me back to reality when I found myself speeding through my itinerary. I did have moments during the trip where I found myself rushing from point A to point B, like running from the Casa Mila attraction to make it on time for the start of a flamenco show, to hailing to catch the bus to get to another side of town before a set time. When I'd have moments of rush or urgency, I take a look around to remind myself of my environment, allowing me to slow down and give myself a reminder to chill out and prioritize gliding to the next thing, not rushing to the next thing. Did you catch that, gem? Glide to the next thing. Don't rush to it. Barcelona reminded me to stroll leisurely. There was no need to rush, as I spent time doing activities that enhanced my mind and well-being while in the moment. Barcelona taught me the importance of enjoying life's simple pleasures, taking time to appreciate the present moment and indulgent experiences, while staying present in the moment, an approach that enhances overall happiness and fulfillment. I just remember observing the locals. Everyone just seemed so carefree. It made me so grateful to know that when I returned to the U.S., I wouldn't have work to go back to. It also dawned on me that it was my first time I made a trip overseas, not checking any email or checking back into the office to ensure a team member had things covered. That would make sense. It's the first time I'm taking a sabbatical. Not having anything to report into or check on enhanced my trip to the fullest. In Spain, there's another popular cultural concept. It's a lifestyle practice called siesta. Siesta is essentially a midday or afternoon rest or nap. It's a big part of Spanish culture. You'll typically find if you're walking down the street or driving, many businesses in Barcelona and other parts of Spain are temporarily closed every day between about 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., and sometimes longer so that siestas can take place. Parts of the city typically are quiet between that time. It's forced downtime that no one protests against. It's essentially like taking a very extended, quote-unquote, lunch break. This lifestyle practice is a perfect backdrop for a sabbatical. It made so much sense why I was drawn to Barcelona. I needed to be in a place that embraced a concept like siesta. If I wasn't strolling around a museum or boutique during those hours, I fully immersed and embraced siesta. Sneaking in 30-minute naps in my hotel room, and then going down to the lobby to enjoy a nutty, cocoa-rich espresso with a custard-filled pastry topped with a hardened caramel shell. I'm trying to get y'all in the vibe. Siesta was a vibe. On my last day on the trip, I immediately plotted on bringing the idea of siesta back home and into my space of Sabbath. And I did just that. Back home, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. became my chill out time. Remember my 3-1 intention rest framework from my previous episode? With siesta incorporated into my days, I knock out items from my intentions list, send out a couple of emails or make some calls, run a few errands between 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., rest from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., and then restart my day again at 4 p.m. I credit my time in Barcelona that helped to reinforce this intentional living style. Will I be able to keep siesta all the days of my life? I have no idea. But right now, while I have no kids, I will try my best, at least on the weekends. All right, now we've got to talk about the main thing, the food and exquisite dining. What made Barcelona so perfect for my eat is that it's a place that allows you to savor the moment through all of the culinary delights of the city. Here's another concept in Spain. It's called bon profit. That's the Catalan language version of bon appetit. In Spain, when a waiter brings you your food, they would say bon profit or buen provecho. Another common saying is the more colloquial que aproveche. Bon profit itself translates to enjoy your meal, and in another translation it means good benefit. And bon profit it was. From the beachside paella with an icy glass of red sangria I enjoyed a few hours before sunset on a breezy Sunday, to the cheesy pasta dish I devoured after enjoying a vibrant and colorful theater flamenco show. I enjoyed that pasta dish at this dreamy, fancy cheese and wine bar called Casararium. I think that's the name. I stumbled upon this place where they made these eclectic dishes out of the cheese they sold in their neighboring cheese shop, and they paired it with a menu of organic wines. It was such an experience. There was so much more that I enjoyed and savored. Oh, and I have to mention this. I cannot end this without mentioning this. I had oxtail on my last evening in Barcelona, and I was so surprised to see the dish prepared the same way I was used to having back home, with a savory brown gravy on top of almost mashed potatoes. Oh my God. Now, back home for me is Miami, and we don't have a shortage of oxtail, thanks in large part to the Jamaican eateries prevalent in the city. Color me naive, but I was surprised to see this dish on the menu. Here's another thing I embraced in Barcelona, and I have to be honest, I didn't necessarily have innovation and architecture as a goal on my list when first selecting my sabbatical trips. But there's no way around it in the city. Innovation is literally just so in your face with all of the beautiful architecture. I can't even put this into words. I mean, imagine you are going down the street and you're just going to, I don't know, walk your dog. And there's this Gothic style cathedral that you just can't help but to notice. Or some amazing style of architecture that may just be the post office. I mean, the post office has beautiful avant garde architecture. Every other block was an Architecture Digest magazine spread. Ugh, so breathtaking. Barcelona's artistic and architectural wonders inspired me to think outside the box for myself and embrace creativity in my life and work. I've always been a creative person, but this just helped to take it up a notch for me. I will always be amazed by the famed legend and architect Antoni Gaudí and his creations. From the iconic La Sagrada Familia Cathedral to the Casa Batlló to Park Güell, his work was so amazing. I'm now into the architecture because of Barcelona. These days, I now linger a little longer and ponder the buildings and designs around me, appreciating the creativity and intention that went into them in a way that wasn't part of my being before. I went back home and reinforced creativity within my intentions list. When I got back from the trip, I took on a creative project, including a very special scrapbook I'll introduce to you all soon. All right, now let's talk about the dynamic nightlife. So this is a very important detail that I did not bring up, but I went solo on this trip. I travel solo often, so I wasn't intimidated by this at all. But even while doing so, I was determined to have a nightlife evening in Barcelona. I wanted a get back to the hotel at 3 a.m. type of night. And while I did not get back at 3 a.m., I think I got back around 1 a.m. But here's the kicker. I had people to hang out with the whole time. What I love about the nightlife was that it wasn't necessarily nightlife per se. It was more about being with community and connection. Here's a nightlife scene in Barcelona. So, you'll walk into a bar, you take a seat, and your bartender makes you a drink. He or she will direct you to a section with a few other patrons they know well, and they would make an introduction. And I'm not going to lie, I had both eyes open at all times. I was extremely vigilant, but I left every space with a new friend, a new connect, and a new spot to venture out to next. This is nightlife in Barcelona. It's backdropped by the sense of community and connection that's so prevalent among locals and their belief in building meaningful relationships. Speaking of which, I met an amazing couple actually while I was on a day tour to the Montserrat region, about an hour away from central Barcelona. We kept in touch, and it just so happened that where I was having dinner, they were at a bar 5 minutes down the street. We met up, we hung out that entire night, bar hopping to check out the scene around one of the most liveliest quarters of the city. They live out in LA, so I will see them soon. But that was just a reminder of how important it is to be open-minded. When you walk into spaces with an open mind, you never know who will come into your life to add a memory. So I thank you both for bar crawling with me. You know who you are, and I'll see you guys soon in LA. The next drink is on me. And that is my EAT trip. Barcelona people, I'm so grateful for the enriched experience I lived through while in Spain and the insights I gained from this trip. Here's a quick recap of the gems. Glide and stroll leisurely to your next, whatever your next may be. Savor the taste of life. Remember, bon profite. It profits you well to savor life. Lastly, take a siesta when you can. Metaphorically speaking, my sabbatical was an entire siesta. Thank you for reliving this beautiful trip with me. If you liked today's episode, feel free to download And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes from this season and future installments of Hey, It's Arlesha. For more in-depth insights and gems, subscribe to my blog counterpart of this podcast. And I'd like to hear from you. What's been your favorite gem and learning so far? If you're planning a career break, what questions do you have? My email address is included in the show notes. Reach out. I want to hear from you. Until next time, I am sincerely yours, Arlesha.